two of my favorite games of all time made by the same company, The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. It's safe to say that not only are these both some of the greatest RPGs of all time, but they're also some of the greatest games ever made, period. The Witcher 3 versus Cyberpunk, CD Projekt RED's twin titans, separated by half a decade of tech leaps, one catastrophic launch, and the most dramatic redemption arc in gaming history. On one side, you have a 2015 fantasy epic that has sold over 60 million copies, swept every Game of the Year award that you can have, and still sits at a 96 rating on Metacritic a full decade later. On the other hand, you have a 2020 launch that was so broken that it was pulled from the PlayStation Store, only to claw its way back with updates after updates, and the Phantom Liberty expansion to a 92 rated masterpiece now boasts over 25 million sales and an overwhelmingly positive Steam rating. Two games, same DNA, but completely different eras. It wasn't so long ago as well that The Witcher 3 received its official next-gen upgrade. Cyberpunk still getting updates to this day, further improving both of these incredible worlds. As well as that, both have insanely detailed worlds, incredible characters, and both have DLCs that critics call better than most full games. And that's why in today's video I want to ask you a simple question. If you could only keep one CD Projekt RED RPG in your library forever, which of these deserves that right? Now, by the end of this video, you'll know which RPG earns the top spot on your SSD and which one you might even be reinstalling tonight if you haven't played it for a while. I want to go over what makes both of these games fantastic in their own right, what they do better than each other. I'll be scoring them at the very end and coming to a conclusion of which I think is the best game. Now, before we do start, a very small minority of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you do enjoy today's video or any of my previous videos, please be sure to consider subscribing. It is a massive help towards the channel. Anyways, I would like to start with what really makes The Witcher 3 so great. I like to think that this isn't just a game, but it is more of a benchmark that redefined RPG narratives. Now, when this released in 2015, it swept over 800 awards, including more than 250 Game of the Year honors. It still holds a towering 96 Metacritic score that still stands as one of the highest ever for an open world title. It follows Geralt of Rivia, a very familiar Witcher, and if you didn't know what a Witcher was, it is a monster hunter navigating a war-torn continent where every contract undercovers the human horrors that are worse than the beasts you may find. Now, the main quest of this game clocks in at about 50 plus hours, but it is the side content that really cements its legend. Over 100 hours of quests where the word filler just doesn't exist. It is also a case where many of these quests, your choices really do matter. They don't just branch, they shatter families, topple villages, and echo in the numerous endings. The world of The Witcher 3 isn't just an empty map, it is a folklore-soaked masterpiece spanning from three vast different regions: the plague-ridden swamps of Velen, the bustling streets of Novigrad, and the storm-lashed Viking Isles of Skellige. On top of that, you have the choice to go to Toussaint, one of the most incredible DLC additions you will ever find. On top of that, where you start off at White Orchard and Kaer Morhen. And yes, as I did mention, the DLC which alone can justify the complete edition. Hearts of Stone delivers a 10-hour Neue tale of Olgierd von Everic, a soul-selling noble whose infinite luck masks a very, very interesting curse, accumulating one of gaming's most haunting choices. But after that, the Blood and Wine DLC is a 30-plus hour sequel disguised as an expansion. You take Geralt down to Toussaint, a French-inspired parody brimming with vampire balls, nightly tournaments, and Beauclair's wine-soaked streets. Now, the combat in this game consists of numerous different features, however, is criticized heavily for being clunky due to its dated time. You're able to obviously use your silver sword for beasts, steel for males, you can dodge, use signs, and in particular if you are playing on the Death March mode, there is a lot of skill and thought that does need to go into the combat of this game. Now, although the combat was outdated and clunky, I don't think it's necessarily a deciding factor on how great or bad this game is, because The Witcher 3 isn't just great for its time, it is incredible, period. Incredible storytelling with unmatched quests, it is a world that breathes more ambiguity, and you just don't sell 60 million copies for it to be a bad game, do you now? On the other hand, I want to talk a little bit now about what makes Cyberpunk 2077 special. I think it's safe to say that when Cyberpunk launched in 2020, it was amid catastrophe. Bugs crippled consoles, leading Sony to delist it from the PlayStation Store. CD Projekt RED, however, refused to abandon Night City through relentless patches, overhauling what we first saw in 2020 to a fantastic RPG all the way in 2025. As well as that, the Phantom Liberty expansion, and it completely transformed this into a pinnacle RPG. This DLC alone earned widespread acclaim, scoring 91 on Metacritic across 2 platforms, and sweeping awards like the Best Game Expansion at the Golden Joystick Awards, Best Polish Game at the Digital Dragons, and nominations for Best Narrative at the Game Awards. Now, it's certainly a change from sprawling countrysides, as Night City is a hyper-dense 24 square kilometer vertical marvel of 6 different districts. From Watson's industrial sprawl to Westbrook's opulent towers, you couldn't find 2 games more different than each other than both of these titles. You play as V, who you can customize gender, body type, voice, and backstory that does shape the early quests. You have your 5 core attributes with the body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool, and you're able to unlock cool perk trees throughout the game that have been able to help with your builds. Now, with this, it does allow you to actually really go in detail in regards to what build you would actually like to go for. You can go netrunner crazy with ram-hungry quick hacks that chain explode enemy cyberware, or you can blade up with the Sanseversan for the slow-motion, bullet-timed katana shreds. As well as that, if you just wanted to go as a gunslinger shooting your way through everything, there is nobody stopping you from doing that. The combat in this game is incredibly fluid, allowing you to kill people in numerous different ways, however, is only tied to first person, which has been a big complaint among the Cyberpunk community. Despite that, it has an incredibly intelligent overhauled police system that does spawn dynamic heat levels, with max hack SWAT coming out for the highest of rampages. And to quickly touch a little bit more on Cyberpunk's DLC Phantom Liberty, we seem to be getting a common trend of CD Projekt RED making some of the greatest DLC of all time. It added 20 plus hours of content in a new area of Night City called Dogtown, giving us even more incredible quests and choices that really did matter towards the end of the game. In Night City, it is no different than in The Witcher 3. Choices matter, and they didn't question your intelligence. You were able to make a decision that would affect things later down the line with a huge domino effect, adding even more immersion to a world that already felt real. So now that I've discussed how great both of these RPG titles are, I want to talk a little bit now about what each of them does better than each other. I'll start with what I think The Witcher 3 does a lot better than Cyberpunk. Now, I would like to start off with the storytelling that does treat the side quests like main campaigns. And of course, this is not to say that Cyberpunk does anything terrible, it's just the fact that I think The Witcher does it better, and it'll be vice versa when I talk about the other things. Now, Cyberpunk has many different gigs that do twist really cleverly, however, I do believe that The Witcher's quests hit a lot more emotional peaks. On top of that, I do think the scale and exploration of The Witcher 3's world is a lot more enjoyable in a way than Cyberpunk's. And I don't like to say that because it makes me feel like I'm saying that Cyberpunk's world is bad when that is the furthest thing from the truth. It is absolutely incredible. But in The Witcher, you have Novigrad's teeming streets, Skellige's incredible isles, Velen's plagued swamps, and the magical Toussaint. I feel like there's a lot more variety in terms of exploration and sort of the different environments in the Witcher world, as well as that choices that you make in the game actually impact whether villages are going to be populated again, entire areas are burnt or rebuilt. It is organic discovery at its finest, where it is absolutely incredible. As well as that, you have the expansions in The Witcher, which elevate it to god tier replayability, and with that, it does make the game a lot more replayable, especially when you talk about the addition of New Game Plus. Now, you could just play the game on normal mode for the very first time for your first Witcher playthrough, and then do a New Game Plus on the very challenging Death March mode. Now, Cyberpunk just doesn't offer some sort of experience like that, and maybe we will hopefully see it in a future update. The Witcher 3 excels in its epic scope, choice consequences, and is just an overall handcrafted wonder. For fantasy immersion and scale, this game is absolutely on top. However, what does Cyberpunk do better than this title? Well, I'd like to think that Cyberpunk in a way flips the script with an unparalleled player agency that The Witcher 3's fixed character playing as Geralt simply just doesn't touch. You're actually able to craft V from the very ground up, gender, body type, voice, tattoos, even life path backstory. And this actually unlocks unique dialogue and early quests. I do believe as well that the combat in Cyberpunk has a lot more fluidity and overall is superior at the end of the day. You're able to do so much. You can go gunslinging, you can use melee cyberware, or you can use a monowire that whips through crowds of enemies. This is also helped by the cutting edge technology and immersion, and first person in particular really does help you solidify yourself into V's chrome. As well as that, if you are someone who enjoys shorter narratives and likes a little less bloating in the plot, Cyberpunk would be a better option for you purely because the pacing is just overall tighter. Now, in my opinion, this isn't really a massive concern for me, however, I have to factor in how other people do feel as well. Many people actually believe that The Witcher 3 has a lot of bloat within its story, which I do sort of find ridiculous, however, I can sort of really understand it from a small part of my brain. Cyberpunk just has that feel where you are able to pick up and play from the ground up without having to put too much of your brain into it, whereas The Witcher 3 is a lot less casual. But now we've done the comparison for both of the games and what they do better than each other, I'd like to go and do a head-to-head scoring and give my overall verdict of what I really feel. The categories are going to be story, combat, world, RPG depth, and replayability, and I'm going to score them from 1 to 10. So to start off with the story, I think it's obvious that The Witcher 3 has to take a 10 out of 10 for its novelistic depth. Just an incredible journey that this game takes you on, with incredible quests such as the Bloody Baron that literally rival in real life literature. I'd like to score Cyberpunk a 9 out of 10 in this category for V's relic-fueled identity crisis, and obviously the amazing twists that we get in Phantom Liberty's spy plot. Now, I want to talk about the combat, and Cyberpunk will be dominating this area no matter what. 9.5 out of 10 for me, with very fluid gameplay, cyberware that just makes the game feel so much more fun, so much more liquid, and the vehicle havoc you can also cause. The Witcher 4 is going to be taking a 7 out of 10, and it's not necessarily the fault that the game feels dated. It's unfortunately just very clunky swordplay. I'm sure if this game was made in the more modern era now, it would be done absolutely perfectly and so much better, and I think we're going to see just that in The Witcher 4. So I want to talk now about the world design, and I think I'll be giving a 9.5 out of 10 for The Witcher, with its incredible breathing folklore continents. The reason I love it so much is just because there is so much to explore, yet still so much that you can miss. Even on your 10th playthrough, there will still be incredible Easter eggs that you can find in the very corner of the map, hidden away in the middle of nowhere. And that's not to say that Cyberpunk doesn't offer this, but I think I'll be giving it a 9 out of 10, and it's not to say it's a bad map whatsoever. A 9 out of 10 is pretty remarkable. It's just the fact that I like the variety a lot more that you get in The Witcher's world. Now, in terms of RPG depth, Cyberpunk is going to get a 9.5 with full customization of your character and numerous hybrid builds that you are able to make. I'll be giving The Witcher 3 a 8 out of 10, just purely because you are kind of stuck with Geralt, and there's very limited builds that you are able to do, especially in comparison with Cyberpunk. However, that's not to say you can do different builds and different playthroughs in The Witcher. I just think you can do a lot more fun ones in Cyberpunk. Looking back at it now, I should probably change this section to maybe customization or something like that, not necessarily RPG depth, because I need to cover numerous other factors as well. Finally, the replayability, and The Witcher nets a 10 out of 10. Two different incredible expansions that you can play on New Game Plus, so many different layered achievements that make you go back into the game and play it at its hardest difficulties. There is so many reasons why you should keep replaying this incredible game. And the exact same does stand for Cyberpunk. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's just the fact is they don't offer New Game Plus, and it is such a shame, because if they did, I'd be giving this a 10 out of 10 as well, with the incredible Phantom Liberty DLC and so many other achievements that makes you want to replay this game again. However, it's just such a shame we have to start it with a new character. So, if I was to total these scores both out of 50, The Witcher 3 comes in at 44 out of 50, Cyberpunk 46 out of 50. So, by the raw score and modern polish, I do believe that Cyberpunk 2077 comes out of this battle as the better game. A redemption titan with incredible amounts of sales and reviews, mechanics that scream modern gaming, first-person embodiment, build freedom that lets you net run or even blade dance, with incredible combat tighter than any RPG shooter hybrid you can find on the market. Night City's density does reward chaos, and it keeps evolving with incredible updates, and is honestly the full package for any action RPG fans just craving variety. But there is a huge but here, and the twist is that my heart still thinks that The Witcher 3 is a better RPG. Its soul-crushing narratives, world-altering choices, and the 60 million sales cement it as a storytelling pinnacle. No fixed protagonist can match Geralt's lore depth, and those quests that you are able to go through truly redefine role-playing as living moral greyness in a folklore epic. I believe that Cyberpunk is a better game than The Witcher, however The Witcher 3 is a better RPG than Cyberpunk, and is my personal favourite. However, the moral of this story is the fact that there are no losers here. Two CD Projekt RED masterpieces with 90 million combined sales. And to track back to the question I asked at the very start of the video, if you could only keep one on that SSD of yours, which would you pick? I'm telling you to delete all of your other games, make room and install them both, because they are just both incredible.